Well, I'm a Canadian who's interested and concerned about the future of the country and has become involved in federal politics in order to try to make some changes. We're a great country, but we've got some things to do to remove the fear that takes the joy out of a lot of Canadians' lives. I think it's a struggle right now. I think a lot of people are struggling. They're struggling to make ends meet. I believe that fairness and equality is one of the most basic principles that Canada is built upon and that will guide us for the future. You've got the national government, the biggest one of them all, dragging its feet, resisting all the way to any suggestion that it has to balance its book. And people simply can't understand it. It makes them mad. It makes me mad. I'm optimistic about what can be done if enough Canadians decide they want to do it. If you make your economy a more attractive place for job creators by keeping your tax levels down, by not over-regulating business, you're going to stimulate job creation. My view is that a dollar left in the pocket of a consumer or a genuine job creator is more productive in terms of creating jobs, real jobs for real people, than those dollars in the hands of bureaucrats or politicians. Small business plays an enormously important part in the economy in dealing with this insecurity with respect to employment. And that's just common sense. The man in the street says, you want jobs? Well, who creates jobs? Well, business people create jobs. Well, what do business people need to create jobs? They need a more favorable tax climate. I think economic insecurity is the biggest single fear that exists among the Canadian people. And I think the frustrating thing for us, as with many, many Canadians, it's not the struggle to get enough, but it's the huge tax bite at the end of the day. And then when, like in my business, I see where a lot of these tax dollars go, and I see them wasted on a colossal basis. The government can't just protect some people or attach special rights to some people and not to others. It's got to treat all citizens equally in solving our problems or in reaching towards the future. And Canadians are going to have to choose. Historically, the traditional parties have defined the country as a partnership between two racial groups and have got into the business of attaching rights and privileges to different groups based on race or culture, personal characteristics. You can go that way, but I think that's a way to a divided country and a hyphenated Canadian. The other way to go is to say we're going to treat everyone equally and equal in law, regardless of their race, culture, language, or whatever. And I think that's the way of the future. When they're talking about crime, they're not talking about some theoretical statistic. They're talking about breaking and entries in their own neighborhoods. They're talking about assaults in their own neighborhoods. They're talking about murders in their own neighborhoods. Well, there's some specific things that can be done. The Young Offenders Act does not work well. It can be tightened up. The age of application can be lowered. You can ensure that repeat violent young offenders are treated in adult court. You can do away with automatic parole for violent offenders, all of which move in this direction of making the protection of the life and property of the citizen the #1 focus of the system. They thought they're paying a huge amount of money to ensure that Medicare was there, and they find themselves in waiting lines. They've been paying and paying into Canada Pension Plan. If they're under 45, they find out that it probably won't be there for them by the time they retire. So Canadians are saying, well, let me keep more of that and provide mechanisms for me to take better care of myself and my family. If you'll elect enough people to the Parliament of Canada with a mandate to fix those things, it can be done. That's the first thing that I'm saying to you. And secondly, the way in which it'll be done has to be based on this principle of fairness and equality. Isn't it possible in this country, with the freedoms we have, to make choices as to how we govern ourselves? Isn't it possible to make a fresh start? Younger people are going to ask this generation of Canadians, you know, during those 1990s when the healthcare system all got strained and when there was all this unemployment and when there was this big unity problem, what did you do? And not what did you talk about or what papers did you read or what TV programs did you watch. What did you do to try to fix it? And I want to be able to say to our children, well, this is what I went out and did. Maybe it didn't all work out, but you can't say that we didn't try. I think we owe a great deal to the generation that's coming along behind us. I want to make sure that they have a fresh start and a chance to the same kind of opportunities or better opportunities than I have. It's the future as far as the children's concerned that we're more concerned about than even the future for ourselves. And our children, about 3 years, the oldest one's 28, the youngest is 16, and they've all got their circle of friends, and we listen pretty hard to what they and their friends have in terms of expectations, some of the struggles they're going through, and it's extremely important to us that that future be properly provided for. I don't believe Canadians have to settle for second best in anything. And the fact that many of our young people are is a commentary on our generation of politicians and government, not a commentary on those young people. You know, Canadian optimist has been defined as someone who thinks things are not too bad or could be worse. But I have a more genuinely optimistic outlook than that.